What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Just me today, so pretty short show. Also, not really a lot going on, but we do have some big news to talk about after we get to the UFL Week 7 recap here. The Renegades getting their first win this weekend over the Memphis Showboats. 47-23 blowout victory on Saturday. Luis Perez, excellent game. 27-32, 84.4%, 296, 3 touchdowns, and 3 2-point conversions, just completely dominating the Memphis defense, which has been absolutely horrendous, allowing over 30 points per game in each of their last 5 losses. Lindsey Scott Jr. also playing sparingly for the Renegades, completed both of his passes for 13 yards and a touchdown. Memphis went with Troy Williams to start the game, 14-21, 66.7%, 127 yards, touchdown, a pick, 6 carries, 34 yards, and a rushing touchdown as well. Case Cookus then came in for him, 11 of 17, 64.7%, 103, 1 touchdown, a pick, 2 fumbles, and a 2-point conversion. Those fumbles, Case Cookus has been horrendous ball security this year. 5 fumbles on the year, leading the league. You got to hold on to the ball, man. I don't know what else to say about it. But, it has not been great for Coach DiFilippo and the Memphis Showboats. They were eliminated from playoff contention, as was the Houston Roughnecks, with a couple losses and a Michigan win this weekend. But, yeah, it's not great, and we'll see what Memphis can do on the rest of the season. But, Flip has to figure something out, especially that defense under Cardell Lake has to get it shut down more. Davion Smith led the game in rushing, 100-yard performance for him. And the Renegades, 14 carries, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 catches, 35 yards on 5 targets, and a 2-point conversion that he threw, which was pretty cool to see. Leading the way in receiving was Memphis wide receiver Dawood Davis, 7 catches at 83 yards, touchdown on 9 targets. 2 touchdown days for Arlington wide receiver Javonte Payton and tight end Sal Cannella. Payton, 4 catches, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns on 7 targets. Cannella had 9 receptions on 72 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught all 9 of his targets, and a 2-point conversion. Also scoring big target day for Vinny Papali, the wide receiver for the Showboats, 7 catches, 55 yards, touchdown on 10 targets there. Defensively, I am going to go with Arlington linebacker Donald Payne, 6 tackles, 4 solos, a sack, tackle for loss, and a forced fumble. His teammate Vic Beasley also having a big day on defense. Renegades, -6, cover easily over 46.5. They got that by themselves. The Stallions, 30-26 over the Battlehawks, the game of the year on Saturday afternoon. And it came down to Birmingham's defense. Chiava Tizzino knocking away the pass intended for, I think it was Darius Shepard, maybe in the middle of the field from A.J. McCarron. After the Battlehawks blocked a punt to get themselves a chance at the end. But it was not to be, and the Stallions have still not lost a game in over 365 days now. Adrian Martinez for Birmingham, 21 of 33, 63.6%, 233 touchdowns, 7 carries, 60 yards, and a 1-point conversion. A.J. McCarron, not the stat line that we're used to from him. Again, Birmingham's defense, excellent. 19 of 32, 59.4%, 161 touchdown, a pick. 2 carries for 24 yards from McCarron. Ricky Person led the game in rushing outside of Martinez, just 10 carries for 42 yards. Jacob Saylor's big day for him, the St. Louis running back there. 10 carries, only 38 yards on those, but he did score 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 receiving. Also caught 4 for 20 yards on 6 targets and had a 2-point conversion. Touchdown also by C.J. Marable for Birmingham. St. Louis wide receiver Hakeem Butler, he led the game in receiving, 7 catches, 89 yards on 10 targets. And then touchdown receptions coming from the Stallions wide receivers Kevin Austin Jr., Marlon Williams, and Deion Kane. Defensively, got to go with St. Louis linebacker Willie Harvey. Massive day for him. 10 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for lost, pass deflection, and a forced fumble. Dondre Tillman for the Stallions also having a big day with 3 tackles for loss and a sack. Battlehawks covered plus 4.5 by the hook there. Over 47.5, 56 in that game. Yesterday, the Panthers wrecking the Defenders 22-9. Not a good day for DC and their playoff hopes, considering St. Louis won, or San Antonio won. So now they are 2 games back with 3 games remaining. So it's not looking very pretty. They need to win out, and they need San Antonio to lose out, essentially, which could possibly happen. I mean, DC really is a tough test this weekend against St. Louis in St. Louis, but then the other 2 games aren't too bad. I believe they play Arlington, one of those 2, and potentially Memphis as well. And then San Antonio, on the other hand, they have to play Arlington as well, but they also have to play both Birmingham and St. Louis. So you never know. But anyways, in this game, Jordan Ta'amu led the game passing 10 of 14, 71.4%, 127 yards, touchdown. He got injured. DeAndre Francois came in, played like 1 snap. He got a carry for a yard, and then he got hurt. So it was down to the third emergency quarterback, Jalen McClendon, 9 of 14, 64.3%, 73 yards, 2 carries for 13 yards. Looked pretty decent as he could be for being the emergency QB, but starter last year with the Vegas Vipers, so not totally inexperienced there. For Michigan, it was an intriguing day. They were down to their 3rd and 4th quarterbacks in this one. Brian Lewerke got the start, 5 of 13, 38.5%, 37 yards, and a rushing touchdown on the opening drive. Bryce Perkins was the much better player on the day, though. Former player with the Rams, had started when Matthew Stafford got injured a couple years ago. 11 of 13, 84.6%, 116 yards, 2 carries for 13 yards as well. Matthew Colburn, the rushing game was ridiculous for the Panthers, and DC just could not stop it at all. 16 carries, 137 yards, and a 4-yard reception. Wes Hills, his teammate, rushing for another touchdown on the year in this one. And DC couldn't run the ball worth crap, man. Kiki QT and Chris Rowland were their 2 leading rushers on the day, both wide receivers. And their leading non-quarterback or wide receiver was Darius Higgins, and he had negative yards, 1 carry for negative 2 yards, caught a 9-yard reception as well. So the running game hasn't been there all year pretty much for DC, and it continued to be so against the stout Michigan defense in this one. Ty Scott, he led the game in receiving, 2 receptions, 87 yards, touchdown on 6 targets. Part of that was a 70-yard play that he scored DC's only touchdown of the day on. And defensively, I'm going to go with DC defensive end Davin Bellamy, 5 tackles, 3 solos, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. Jake Bates, of course, continuing to dominate, converted all of his 3 attempts on field goals, and hit a 51-yarder for the long in this game. Panthers plus 2.5 win outright, under 43. The final game of the weekend, the Brahmas in a ridiculous comeback effort, 15-12 over the Roughnecks. Quentin Dormady got the start for San Antonio, 10 of 24, 41.7%, 142, a pick and a fumble. There was discord on the sideline, and eventually Kevin Hogan came in, saved the day for San Antonio, 5 of 7, 71.4%, 38 yards, led them on a touchdown drive, converted to the 3-point conversion to tight end Cody Latimer. And then on the ensuing kickoff, Houston fumbles the ball. San Antonio recovers. Hogan gets them close enough for Ryan Santoso to kick a walk-off 51-yard field goal, I think it was. So, yes, crazy comeback at the end of the game for San Antonio and Kevin Hogan, but nicely done for Wade Phillips' crew. And like I said, this clinched Michigan as the second team in the USFL conference. So we know it will be the Birmingham Stallions hosting the Michigan Panthers more likely than not. The only way that they would be in Detroit instead of Birmingham for that game would be if Michigan wins out, Birmingham loses out, which I do not foresee happening. However, the Roughnecks, like I said, eliminated San Antonio. Big win as well, though. They now are tied with St. Louis for that number one spot in the XFL conference. They are one step closer, like I kind of mentioned earlier, to clinching a berth in the playoffs, whether that's in San Antonio or in St. Louis. Right now, St. Louis has the conference tiebreaker, 3-0 in the XFL conference play. San Antonio just 2-2. But there is definitely a path forward for San Antonio to host St. Louis, depending on what happens the next 3 weeks. For the Roughnecks, Jarek Garantano came back in for this game, 11 of 18, 61.1%, 121, 3 carries for 14 yards, injured his wrist. So Reed Sinnott came back in, played a little bit, completed both of his passes for 17 yards. Mark Thompson led the game in rushing. Not a great output for either team in this one. 9 carries, 38 yards. John Lovett scoring the lone touchdown on the day between the teams. Leading the game and receiving, San Antonio wide receiver Landon Akers, 3 catches, 72 yards on 3 targets. And defensively, I'm going to go with San Antonio. Linebacker Tavante Beckett was everywhere. 9 tackles, 6 of them solos, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. And, of course, I mentioned Santoso, the game winner for San Antonio, but J.J. Molson had himself a day, scoring all 12 points for the Roughnecks, completed all 4 of his field goals, and hit a 62-yarder as a part of those. Roughnecks +3 pushed under 38.5. Easily. And we do have breaking news today. It is the Lions doling out another massive contract. Just happened right before the show kicked off. They signed quarterback Jared Goff to a 4-year, $212 million extension with $170 million guaranteed. Definitely worth 2 cha-chings. They have now paid between him, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Penei Sewell $444 million between the 3 contracts in total value. I think it's worth it. I wasn't sure if they were going to re-sign him or if they were going to draft the future at the position. They did draft Hendon Hooker last year in the 3rd round. So we know he is there, and a lot of people liked Hooker if he wouldn't have gotten injured. But, Goff now for the foreseeable future, he's going to be there for at least the next 2 years, maybe 3. And we'll see if the Lions can keep the momentum rolling and get to their first ever Super Bowl under Jared Goff and Coach Dan Campbell. So, big money there for Jared Goff. Also, another extension going down today. Bucks signing franchise safety Antoine Winfield Jr. to a 4-year, $84.1 million extension, $45 million fully guaranteed. There, another guy very much worth that deal, kind of topping off the safety market, which no one really thought was coming, but his same agent got Xavier McKinney 17 a year in Green Bay, and now he gets Antoine Winfield to stay in Tampa Bay for the foreseeable future and at a massive deal, highest paid defensive back in the league, 21 million per season and change. So yeah, now T. Higgins, the lone franchise star to not get a extension yet, still has a trade request out there. We have not heard anything new on his situation, but yeah, T. Higgins, the lone franchise tagged player without an extension yet. UFL news, just one note for possibly next season. The UFL plans to air Friday night games on Fox in 2025. So that would come with expansion potentially, as the lead guy I follow on UFL news, James Larson, said. With expansion, we'd look at 5 to 6 games per week as opposed to 4. So it'd make a lot of sense for Friday night games in spring 2025. So looking forward to that as we wind down the 2024 inaugural UFL season. One transfer portal to note in college football, Penn State wide receiver Malik McClain. He visited with UCF, former Florida State Seminole as well. So familiar with the Florida football scene and potentially making a move back to Florida and UCF. NFL news, the Patriots, they finally made it official, naming Elliott Wolf as the executive vice president of player personnel, i.e. GM. Had a really solid draft in his first one at the helm in New England, and Patriots think that he can be the guy moving forward in their personnel department. Schedule-wise, so we have the NFL schedule release coming out on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. However, we are going to get a couple, leaks throughout the next couple of days. So we now have the second game of the schedule released. We had the Eagles and the Packers in Sao Paulo, September 6th, first Friday night game in a long time for the NFL. Now we have the opener, NFL kickoff game, the Chiefs Super Bowl reigning back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They will be hosting the Ravens in Kansas City on September 5th. AFC Championship game rematch. I think the Chiefs are going to win that probably. But, yeah, we have the NFL kickoff game now. Looking forward to what else we get tomorrow and then, of course, on Wednesday as well. And a couple free agent signings went down this week. The Chargers, they signed Falcons linebacker Bud Dupree on a 2-year, $6 million deal. $10 million max value on that one. So looking to upgrade their depth at pass rush and kind of getting insurance policy behind Joey Bosa, considering how his injury history has gone. But yeah, Bud Dupree, 53 career sacks. Not a bad player to get on your roster there for Coach Harbaugh. The Cardinals, they signed Jaguars wide receiver Zay Jones to a 1-year, $4.25 million deal. Excellent signing by Arizona. I mentioned this during last show when we were talking about Zay Jones and where he was visiting on the 4 teams. And I was like, yeah, Arizona's the team that sticks out of those 4. They had the biggest need and probably the most salary cap as well. It went down during the show that he did get signed there, but now we had the numbers to back it up today. So yeah, 1 year, $4.25 million for Zay Jones. Excellent deal for both sides, I think. And then the Falcons, they signed 49ers tight end Ross Dwelley, getting some tight end depth there in Atlanta behind Kyle Pitts and others. Let's get to the draft recap. Patriots and the Cardinals. So a lot of picks between these two. The Patriots going quarterback Drake May at number 3. 37th overall in the second round. They went wide receiver Jalen Polk. Third rounder, 68th overall, offensive tackle Caden Wallace. Fourth rounder, number 103, guard Layden Robinson. Fourth rounder, number 110, wide receiver Javon Baker. Sixth round, number 180, corner Marcellus Dial. Sixth rounder, number 193, quarterback Joe Milton III. And seventh rounder, number 231, tight end Jaheim Bell. So I really liked the Patriots draft. They hit on most of the needs I had for them. They had to get outside wide receiver help. They had to get, obviously, their quarterback of the future, and they had to get O-line help. Those were the big areas of need. There wasn't a ton on defense, even though they did draft one defensive player, Marcellus Dial there. But absolutely love the Drake May thing. I think Patriots fans might clamor for him, potentially, but they've seen Jacoby Brissett play in New England before. They know he is a serviceable veteran, and they know that their team overall is not ready to compete anyways. So why would you throw the rookie out there, even though is probably better than what Jacoby Brissett can give you? But the rest of the draft, I really enjoyed. Jalen Polk, Caden Wallace, I thought those were two home run selections. The big issue that I have with Caden Wallace is that they're going to have to play him at left tackle because that's what they needed. They needed left. They did not need a right tackle. They have Mike Onwenu there. But they needed a left tackle, and Caden Wallace only played right at Penn State. But I believe in my Penn State and Indy Lion. I believe he can get the job done. I think he can make that switch to left tackle and hopefully win that job for New England. The interesting one was the double quarterback, the Joe Milton the third selection at number 193 in the sixth round. There were rumors about, oh yeah, he's going to switch to tight end. No, he's not. He has come out and said that he is a quarterback, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to play. But we've seen it work before. The Commanders, when they drafted RG3 and Kirk Cousins in 2012. Granted, that was a lot more threatening of a selection when RG3 went number 2 overall, and they picked Kirk in the 4th round. Here Milton in the 6th round, so not as threatening to Drake May. But yeah, I mean, if Milton could be mobile like May could, I mean, he would probably have been a 1st round pick. But yeah, because he's got a cannon of an arm. But yeah, the accuracy is not there, and also the mobility is a question mark as well for Joe Milton. But yeah, I'm okay with it. Absolutely loved the Jaheim Bell signing or drafting in the 7th round. Not sure why he was even there at that point. Should have gone way earlier in my mind, but pretty dynamic tight end. Little undersized in terms of weight, but I think you can split him out and be a flexed tight end option for Drake May in this offense. But yeah, my favorite pick was probably Drake May. I mean, he's the player I like the most out of all their picks. Really, really dynamic dual threat quarterback. And again, I think he's going to sit. I think he's going to be able to sit, and Patriots fans are going to understand that and know that he's not ready. Or I think he could be ready, but he's just not. The roster isn't ready around him. So I really like most of what the Patriots did. And in terms of picks I didn't really like for New England, I would probably say either the Marcellus Dial or the Joe Milton pick. The Joe Milton pick, again, I thought they probably could have went elsewhere in terms of position, but I understand the double quarterback thing, and if the value is there, why not take him at that point? So for the Cardinals, they went at number 4, wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. Number 27, they took edge rusher Darius Robinson. 43rd overall in the 2nd, corner Max Melton. 66th in the 3rd, running back Trey Benson. 71st in the 3rd, guard Isaiah Adams. Back-to-back Illini for the Cards at number 82 in the 3rd, the tight end Tip Ryman. 90th in the 3rd, corner Elijah Jones. 104th in the 4th, safety Dadrian Taylor Demerson. 138th in the 5th, edge Xavier Thomas. 162nd in the 5th, offensive tackle Christian Jones. 191st in the 6th, wide receiver Tejon Palmer. And 226th in the 7th, safety Jaden Davis, defensive back, safety, corner, hybrid there. All right, the Cardinals, my favorite pick for Arizona. I am going to go. I don't think people are talking about it. Edge rusher Xavier Thomas in the 5th round. Absolutely loved Xavier Thomas. Now he's on the older side. Played, I think, 5 years in college, maybe 6. Has had some injury history throughout with his shoulder. But he's a guy that's got a good motor, doesn't stop, and can give you quality edge rush and kick into defensive end role if needed in Jonathan Gannon's defense there. He can play inside on passing downs as well, I think. But yeah, a veteran guy that played at Clemson a while. And I really love that selection for a team that needed to get help on the front 7. And they got some with him and Darius Robinson there. The pick I didn't like it was Tip Ryman. I had no clue what the Cardinals were drafting Tip Ryman for. They already have Trey McBride. And to use a premium selection on a tight end who I didn't think was anywhere near a 3rd round worthy pick, it just made totally no sense for me. I know there were people that liked him, but I don't think many had him going that high. So that was the big questionable one for me. I think also the second wide receiver they took, Tejon Palmer, I had no clue who this guy was. I had never heard of him from UAB. And I thought there were other receivers that they could have taken at that point that would have been better. So probably those two are the two that I'm really not a big fan of. But in terms of grades here for the Patriots, I am actually going to give the Patriots a B+. It would have been an A, I think. However, I think the last couple of picks with Dial and Milton, I wasn't a big fan of those two. The Layden Robinson one was iffy, I guess, on my board as well. So I like Patriots with a B+ grade in my book. And for the Cardinals, it's tough not to give them a high grade because they had so many picks, and especially they had 7 picks in the first 3 rounds combined, including 4 third rounders. So I am going to give them an A- because of the Tip Ryman selection and because of the Tejon Palmer selections. Those two, the Tip Ryman one really lowers it for me. And if they didn't have so many picks that filled most of their needs, I would have probably given them a B+. But A- for the Cardinals because of the quantity of picks and because I did really like a lot of their selections, especially early on. And that is the show for today. I told you it was going to be pretty short. But next Monday, we'll be back talking UFL Week 9. We'll get all your UFL Week 8 game recaps. And we'll continue our draft recap series with picks number 7 and 8, the Titans and the Falcons. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X, FAA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio, and TikTok at Football Addicts Anon. Thank you all for watching, and we will see y'all back for Football Friday.